Welcome to the Zompire Horde podcast. Join us every Monday, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, as your hosts, Vlad the Rad and Michelle of the Dead, discuss horror, true crime, and the macabre. Episodes available on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Join us, won't you? Hello, boils and ghouls and creeps of all ages. It is your host, Vlad the Rad, along with my awesome, amazing, totally tubular, bestest friend ever, Michelle of the Dead.
Thank you. Love you.
Hi.
Hi. We have a very special guest tonight.
We have a humongously special guest tonight. For anyone that has ever seen Manos, The Hands of Fate, you'll know her as Debbie. We're gonna bring her on.
Yeah.
Hello.
And Debbie was the little girl.
She was in the original, yes.
Yes.
In the
yes.
1966. Miss Jackey Neyman Jones, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming on. We're excited to have you here. we love talking about movies and horror and all kinds of stuff. So Melissa says
she's our number one fan.
She's what do we call her? She's
our number one fan.
No, I know, but from that one movie.
She's Bates. Annie Wilkes.
That's our Annie.
Yeah.
So, Miss Jackey, we're here. We're going to talk about Manos, The Hands of Fate, obviously the 1966 movie you were in. What do you want to kind of give us a little bit of background and tell us, kind of how it started and everything?
Yeah. My dad, we lived in El Paso, Texas in the 60s. My mom was an artist. My dad was executive director of the South El Paso Boys Club right on the border of Mexico. And he was very involved in community theater, and he always played the lead. And here's something really interesting. I mean, Manos is known as one of the worst movies ever made, but my dad actually won Best Actor of the Year award. Henry IV. And that's the play that Hal Warren, who created Manos, found all his male characters and cast and crew for Manos, and because he was in the play, and so was John Reynolds, who played Torgo. Was William Bryan Jennings, who played the sheriff. So all the men were there, and then the kissing teenagers, Bernie, he was also the assistant cameraman, and he was the stunt man. So when you see any stunts that aren't the women wrestling, it's him.
Those were some pretty cool stunts, though. The women wrestling, it's pretty hardcore.
These ladies were modeling school students, so this was really uncomfortable for them. But
I bet.
So Hal was a smart man. He was a salesman. He sold fertilizer. He sold cars. He sold insurance. So he put on a show. He made a bet that, he could make a movie. He's like, well, anybody can make a movie. So he did, and he cast my dad as the master, the main lead, but he was smart in utilizing his abilities because my dad was also an artist, and he created all the sets, the props, all the hands, Torgo's staff, the fire, the basin of fire.
Wow.
He did that. I mean, he did everything.
That's awesome.
I was going to say he did the paintings too, yeah.
Yeah, and so, obviously the Master and Dog painting was made specifically for the film. And my mom was a really good seamstress, so she made the wives' costumes, dresses, and she made the master's robe and my Debbie dress. But that was a disappointment because it came out of my closet. So I was pretty excited when I got to wear a pretty white dress at
the end.
Yeah, I got to dress like the big girls. I thought that was pretty cool. So Hal got my dad, and he did all this work for free, and he also happened to have a young child that Hal needed for the film, and we also happened to have the right kind of dog. The Doberman was our family dog.
Right. Is it true too that you get paid a bicycle? Am I correct?
Yes, I got a bicycle with training wheels, a red bike with streamers, on
So-
the
Yeah.
counter. And my dad and the dog got a 50-pound bag of dog food. And we were the highest paid actors on set.
That's
That's what
right.
I read. That's what I read.
Mhm.
Hey, what was your dog's name?
Shanka. And that's kind of funny because my family is registered with the Osage tribe, and my dad named Shanka. It's supposed to be, I looked it up, so I'm not really sure. I think in Osage, it's more like Shonga. But, for simplicity, Shanka was his name. But basically, Shanka means dog in the way that Manos means hands. I just think it's kind of humorous.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the things that actually attracted me to the name was when I used to live in Portland. Actually, I lived in an apartment building called the El Capitan. So as we all know, the L is the. So I lived
Yeah.
in the Capitan. So when I
Right.
saw Manos, the Hands of Fate, I'm like, the hands of
Hands
fate.
of fate.
Yeah.
I almost put that on my reader board.
The original title was Fingers of Fate, which sounds like, an old
An adult film.
or something. But my dad was the one that requested it be changed to Manos because so much of his hand art was in it. All the
Right.
hand sculptures on the mantle and such. So
Melissa Volan actually has a question, and it was kind of leads into something I was going to ask is, were you aware when you were making this that you were in a horror movie? And I was going to ask you, like, how old were you at the time when you were filming this?
this summer I turned 7.
Okay, so you were pretty, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but like you knew what was going on. You could tell you're being in a movie.
My dad had been in theater all my life.
Okay, so
And his art was actually pretty provocative. I mean, he did a lot of very large paintings and a lot of nudes and a lot of sculpture. And we always had Playboy on the coffee table. And we were different. My family was different. We were the only non-Hispanic family in our neighborhood. And this is the 60s. And we lived 3 miles from the border of Mexico. So it was very strict Catholic, a lot of rules. And the kids, I mean, I was kind of an outcast and I was a nerdy kid anyway. I didn't fit in really anywhere. And, but they made friends with me just basically so they could get inside the house and to see what we had on the walls. And
Oh.
we were kind of off limits, I think, in a lot of ways.
Don't go over those people's house.
Yeah. It didn't bother me. It was just like, I was just thrilled to be able to stay up late and hang out with my dad. I mean, I just adored him, and any chance I got. I mean, my art is similar to his, not in style, but in the fact that he would recycle things. I mean, we'd go out in his old truck into the desert and take down old abandoned shacks, and then he'd turn the wood into furniture or frames or, and I do similar things like that. So
one of the things I did want to ask you too is when you were filming it at 7 years old, the story is John Reynolds was doing LSD the whole time, which if he was, you can tell us that character. I thought personally, I really enjoyed. I thought it was very well
I
done.
really like that character as well.
Yeah, John Reynolds and my dad were friends. John just lived down the street. We could see his house from our porch. And he was kind of a shy guy, and he struggled a lot with drugs and depression. And my dad struggled with depression. So they kind of bonded over that, I guess. But they were both method actors. And
Right.
so John was the kind of person, if he was in a part, he was living it most of the time. And so that made him different from people around him. But he committed suicide just 1 month when we were down after filming, and exactly a month to the day before the premiere. So he missed the premiere. And, I just think, Yeah, he was on acid. I don't know if it was the whole time. I mean, there's other rumors that say, he wore the leg braces wrong and it caused terrible pain. So he got addicted to painkillers. And I just laugh. I go, the movie was made in 8 days,
Wow.
Nights and weekends. You don't get addicted to painkillers and then shoot yourself,
Right.
Oh yeah, over a weekend.
But he was most likely on acid a couple times, especially once filming went on, because it became apparent to everyone, even a 6-year-old child, that this wasn't quite going so well. I mean,
Right.
nobody knew how bad it was until we were trapped in the theater at the premiere, because nobody'd seen it.
Right.
We knew it wasn't a good film, but Hal Warren's his goal wasn't necessary to make a great film, but he really wanted more to highlight the beauty of the Southwest, and I think he had a bigger goal to be the guy to bring the film industry to the Southwest.
Yeah. One of the things I really enjoyed about it was I watched really I don't know if you're familiar with Alejandro Jodorowsky stuff, but it's I believe he was in the kind of early 80s, but the filming style, the colors and everything, like he did the Holy Mountain and Santa Sangria and El Topo.
Okay.
And so when I watched Manos, like I immediately got pulled into that era and time frame. And I'm also a big fan of Plan 9 from Outer Space, which everyone says is the worst movie ever made. So when I watched Manos, I was like, I didn't think it was as bad as I think a lot of people do. And I'm not saying that to be the cool, like I like obscure movies guy, but I sat and watched it and I was like, I kind of was like, I wasn't bored. The opening scene, I was waiting for the credits, and then,
because that's where they were supposed
to be. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, this is a long drive.
What, like 6-7 minutes? I don't know. It's a long drive.
Which actually, a funny thing was when I watched Manos Returns, when after the brides kill Torgo in the intro. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen it. It goes into the driving scene, which is the intro again, and immediately I'm like, are they going to do the credits? Are they going to show credits? And then credits showed up, and I kind of first was like, yes, and I was like, purist in me was like, damn it, I wish they hadn't done the credits.
Yeah, that was a fun project. I like Manos Returns, and now I'm doing the Manos Chronicles, which is Debbie, but a whole different universe. So now I'm with all the projects that have happened over the years, the really talented stuff like, Manos, the Hands of Felt up there in Seattle. I don't know if you know Rachel Jackson. She's got the puppet theater and
wait, you're telling me there's a Manos puppet show?
Yeah, Manos, the Hands of Felt. Look it up on YouTube.
We're here in Seattle.
I'm cutting this short to watch it on YouTube.
Rachel Jackson lives up there, and she's our assistant director on Manos Returns. But she's also the very first wife, the blonde one with short hair that shows her.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, cool.
Very talented. And Tanya Atomic, our director, and who also played one of the wives, lives up there as well. I got a lot of friends in the Seattle area.
Nice.
Yeah, but I mean, there's been 4 stage productions. One of them is a rock opera, Manos, the Rock Opera of Fate, out of Chicago. And then there was a Portland stage production that was so great. It was comedy, it was hilarious, but they made Chanka the Doberman out of cardboard and felt, and he rolled across the stage on little tiny wheels. And the master would pull him, he'd like fall over every now and then.
Oh my God.
And then Debbie was played by a doll, and they were going to dub her voice from the sound booth, and they already had it planned. And I heard they were doing this play. Somebody told me, and I just lived, an hour and a half from Portland. So I got in touch with them saying I wanted to come see the show, and they got so excited and asked if I wanted to be part of the show. So I got to play my own voice as a middle-aged woman, because the original film is completely dubbed. All the women and me were dubbed by one woman. So, I mean, that was the most horrifying part for me. Nobody told me it was dubbed. So I'm sitting in the theater and I see my mouth open and I hear this voice come out and I hear people laughing and oh God,
Oh,
so humiliating.
Oh man.
From the years when Manos first came out to when Mystery Science Theater 3000 did their episode, was there in that time period where was there like a crowd of people, or was there, I mean, was that a known movie, or was it that when you kind of, it really hit and you kind of realized, okay, it's now getting recognized? Kind of before that, there was really nothing.
Yeah, 27 years it disappeared. I mean, there was the premiere and it was just so awful that everybody in the cast and crew just kind of escaped as quickly as possible. And, I've heard it said it's like we pulled off a heist, and everybody had to split up and never talk about it. I don't even think anybody went to the cast or crew party. It was just ridiculous. And so to me, it was the best summer of my life. I got to hang out with my dad. It was just, so I held on to the memories. And as I grew up, I told some friends some stories, but nobody was terribly interested, except maybe my theater friends. But that was about it. And then after I got out of high school, and this is all pre-internet, I started looking up university libraries, and I started looking at film libraries and calling around and just seeing if I could find it somewhere.
Right.
Because nobody had it, and I learned in the ensuing years that it did play in some West Texas drive-ins. And it was kind of like usually like the third movie of the night, the one to get people to go home, and home. But other than that, it just really, I couldn't find it. Right. And then so 27 years go by. My dad was living in Lincoln City on the Oregon coast, and
love Lincoln City.
Exactly where that is.
Yeah, and I was here where I am near Salem. And he called me up one January day. He was a Mystery Science Theater fan, so he was just kind of dozing off in his easy chair on a rainy January afternoon, and he said he was dozing off, and then he heard this familiar music, and he opened his eyes, and there he was,
Wow.
He watched it, and then he called me, but it was already over, and it was on Comedy Central, and he said, "You'll never believe what I just saw on television." So I turned on my television, and I called that 800 number on the screen for Comedy Central. And I mean, these days, nobody's going to pick up a phone on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon, an 800, right. But in this case, Manos has just been a series of strange, it's like it's got its own life, it just, it's like magic. It's weird. But so I called, and this guy named Matthew answered the phone, and I said, "You just showed this movie I've been looking for my whole life. My entire family was part of it. And is there any way I can get a copy?" And I told him the name of it. And there's this long pause, and I'm shaking, I mean, I didn't know if he'd hung up on me or if we got disconnected, and I have to get enough courage to call back, And all of a sudden he goes, "Oh my God, are you Debbie?"
Oh my God.
The very first indication that anybody else on this planet
knew about it. Yeah.
And then it just immediately took off. It was a fan favorite. It won the Turkey Day Awards for several years. I was interviewed by Playboy magazine in 2015. It's a 7-page article.
Oh, wow.
Damn.
You should
awesome.
That was great. My younger son was 16. And at the time, and I didn't tell many people that I was interviewing with Playboy. And they sent me a stack of magazines for thanks, and so my son comes home from school that day, and you got to remember, I live in a town of 1,000 people, and I was on the school board and running the arts council, and my brother-in-law was the mayor, and my sister was a librarian at his high school, I mean, this small town. And he walks in the door and I hold it up. I go, guess what, honey? Your mom's in Playboy magazine.
That's awesome. Hopefully he had friends with him.
No, unfortunately,
Oh, that would have been golden.
I would have had to catch him. I mean, he left his face. I was like, no. It's an article.
So funny.
I'm only
I need it for the articles.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And since then, Manos has kind of taken on a life of its own. I know that at one point you were involved with something called Manos: The Search for Valley Lodge, which did not get made, but you had actually stepped away from. Was that just kind of your difference on how it was being filmed or the story, or?
Oh, everybody that was involved with that guy was nuts. He was crazy. Yeah, he was really crazy. I mean, he put a lot of money into it. He got us all to El Paso. We were going to film in the original locations. And yeah, he was. Anyway, I'm working. So I hope to be able to like open that up in the world more, because I'm working on an idea. I'm working on a documentary. And I want to do a documentary that doesn't, just kind of says what Manos is, but mainly it's about all the talented projects and not so talented projects that have happened since it became famous. And that's one of these, that's like the dark side.
The dark
of
corner.
The whole story. It's when that all happened, then Hal Warren's son, Joe, who I like to, when he really got mean, I just was like, you weren't even born yet, His mom was pregnant with him during I mean, come on. But yeah, he came after me, and that's what the Playboy article is about. There's several articles, and it was called The Battle Over the Worst Movie Ever Made. And he started, some crazy dark stuff happened, but I really hope to be able to find some of these people and give them an opportunity to tell their side of this story.
Right, absolutely.
Not just be one-sided, but.
Well, you did go on to actually make Manos: The Rise of Torgo.
Oh God, yeah, that's not my movie. It's like I'm an artist, right? So I say yes to most everything. In fact, I just got this in the mail today. This is a piece of art this guy did, and in the UK, and he's asked me to put red paint on my hands and do my hand.
Oh my gosh!
So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
Vlad, we could get ourselves some robes.
I know.
Well, I make robes, by the way, on my Etsy store. I make custom master's robes because my mother taught me how to sew.
Oh my gosh, we need those. We need the robes. Those are awesome.
I should cosplay the master at this year's Crypticon.
Ooh, do I get to be one of the wives?
They should invite me again to be a guest.
Yeah. I work at Crypticon.
Ryan Fudge. I mean, I've been up there as a guest. I think it's twice, maybe 3 times, but twice for sure.
Yeah.
And I was up there a few years ago when Cassandra Peterson was there. The last time she was there. Yeah. And I got to meet her because she did Manos on her show once. But so I made a commitment a couple years ago that I was going to make 100 custom sized signed and numbered robes. I had to choose a number because they're numbered,
Right.
And I said, I'll make 100.
Oh
God. So I recently shipped out number 49. I've made 49 robes. I made one for a guy in England who's 6'8", and I made one for a woman in Georgia once who was 4'11". So, just a couple of measurements and it'll fit you perfectly.
Heck yeah. I'm definitely in. Someone asked for your Etsy shop, so we're putting that up for them.
Yeah, Jackey's Manos, and I'll give you the links too.
Yeah, we'll make sure that they're in the headers too. I did watch Manos Returns as well, which.
Oh, did you?
Oh yeah,
I was going to, but I couldn't. I couldn't.
I do my homework.
Hey,
Hey.
he does his homework. I can't argue with that.
I loved one of my favorite. So whoever's Mustang that was, it was beautiful.
Yeah, that was loaned to us. Isn't that a beautiful car?
Oh, beautiful car. So I just wanted to say that.
Yeah.
I nearly fell out of my chair. I typically wear oxygen, but because we're doing this, I didn't need the machine humming in the background. And
Just don't pass out. Okay?
I won't pass out. I feel good. But I almost did when the scene when the kids get pulled over. The kids get pulled over, and when the that whole interaction, and it was like the making out scene and everything. I literally almost fell out of my shorts because I'm like, these are grown ass adults, and I didn't like occur to me that they were like teenage, that they were
Right.
recognized as teenagers at first.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's got a whole head of gray hair.
Yeah.
and then I got the joke, and then it occurred to me, but I was dying when that scene happened.
Yeah, that was fun. And we, I had written my book by then. I, wrote a book called Growing Up with Manos, a Hands of Fate, How I Was the Child Star of the Worst Movie Ever Made and Lived to Tell the Story. And that's also available, autographed copies on my Etsy, but it's also available on Amazon. But because of the research I did in that book, I found people who are still living who were part of the original film. And so that included my mom, Maggie.
Yeah.
And she lives in Colorado, and she ended up having a full career as a high-end model traveling the world. She's a beautiful lady. And so we flew her out, and she played the role of my mother in Manos Returns. That's her. And then the sheriff, our sheriff, is the son of the original sheriff from Manos.
Oh, wow. How cool is that?
Yeah. And then my dad, of course. My dad was still living, so we got him in it.
I was gonna say, if there's ever a mustache that could replicate Freddie Mercury's mustache, was it him and Manos one? The whole time I'm like, man, if he was around to do a Queen documentary right now, like that mustache is my pick.
Yeah. He had that mustache my whole life.
I was gonna say, and Manos Returns, he still had it.
Oh yeah. And there's a new project coming out that's taken years to make. A friend of mine filmed it when my dad was still living, and he's finally finishing it. It's like he was good friends with my dad, and he's being too self-judgmental, so he hasn't finished the project. But I've got other friends working on him. So nice. I plan to do a lot more events this year. Now that COVID's lifting, I want to travel and go do more events, but I want to have some things for the film festivals, like, the Manos Chronicles. But this one is so great. It's called The Master Chef. And so my dad is wearing the robe. That's
awesome.
An apron, a black apron with hands, and he's barbecuing. It's really
pretty cool.
It's fun.
It's really cool that, as a family too, that you guys all, since 1966 have had this to kind of bind you and grow up together with and still have it documented for, generations to come. Like I've always thought that was really cool.
Well, Manos really, it's, the reason that I got so involved in projects and doing Manos was my dad and I were, even though we lived close to each other, in the last 15 years of his life, we lived just half a mile apart, but we weren't allowed to see each other because my stepmother didn't want me in their family. And so for some weird reason I can't explain, but if it was a Manos related project, she'd allow it. So I kept making up stuff,
I just want to see my dad.
And then we'd meet on mutual territory, which is my friend Rick's house, the one who's doing the Master Chef, and she liked Rick, so it was either that or I'd run into him at Safeway. I mean, that was pretty much our relationship for 19 years.
Wow.
And so, yeah, Manos really, there's a lot of
Kind of
healing
binded you guys.
that happened because of it. You know, my dad and I always loved each other, but she was a pretty willful woman. And
Yeah.
I mean, they were married for 40 years. So, you know.
How did your parents feel like later on in life, as you know, after the Mystery Science Theater came out and it kind of like became more of a cult thing? Did you guys ever kind of talk about what it was like for them back then, or how they perceived being in the movie now?
Well, my dad always got a kick out of it. Like when, well, I don't know if you know about the restoration.
I
Back,
read a little bit about it.
yeah. So I think that was in 2014. I think Ben Solovey liked to collect and restore films. I mean, he's a film enthusiast, B films, and he found a couple titles he liked on eBay, and the guy was in San Diego. They weren't, he was in LA, and the guy said, no, if you want that, you have to get the whole box. I'm not
Right.
just, so he bought the whole box of films, and he got the original work print in that box of the 16 millimeter film that went through the camera in 1966.
Wow.
Filthy editing with Scotch tape.
Oh, wow.
And so he did a Kickstarter, and he raised $48,000 to restore it. He did it just the way you would restore any old classic film. And then I got to go travel. I think the first screening, we got to go to El Paso, and we saw it in a big theater there. The original theater, the Capri, is no longer exists, but there's another old theater across the street called the Plaza. So Manos got to get its debut as the restoration at the Plaza Theater in El Paso. And
Oh, wow.
I got to go to the Chicago Music Box as well. And so, to full, very appreciative, loving audiences. But yeah, the restoration is a whole different experience. It's like you can see the mistakes so much clearer.
Right.
It's like, I don't know. There's a lot to love about the film. I've learned so much about it through the fans. And I think one of the things that people love so much about it is that it's clear to them that everybody put all their effort into it. It was a low budget film, and it was done sincerely, and with intention, and with all the lighting was basically the car headlights and ushers flashlights from the community theater.
One of the things I actually read was that it was on another podcast or something it was about Manos, and it was like, if Manos can film at night in 1966, God damn it, movie theater or movie making people now should be able to film in the dark.
Yeah, you would think. I mean, and think about this: that camera and the film were rented. I mean, well, the film was bought, but the camera was rented, and it was a Filmo 70, which is it's a wind-up camera.
Right.
32 seconds shots maximum at a time, and it was used in Vietnam and Korea's for war footage. But it also shot silent, so the film had to be dubbed.
Right. You were telling me earlier before we got on about another project you were involved with. I want to hear about it. And it was something to do with Bigfoot. Tell us about that.
Oh.
Well, I've actually been part of 2 Bigfoot movies. But there's The Curse of Bigfoot, and that was that's way worse than Manos. Riff Tracks. But I'm only in like 7 seconds of it. It's a classroom scene, and I don't even have any lines, but people get a kick out of the fact that I was in something much worse than Manos. But, a few years ago, I was invited to be part of Primal Rage. It's a Bigfoot film made by Patrick McGee, who did the costuming for Alien versus Predator.
Oh, cool.
And
wow.
He's a big guy. He's 6'8", and he actually played in the costume. He's
right.
the body in the Predator costume.
Wild.
But he made his own film. He wrote, produced, and directed Primal Rage, which is a Bigfoot film. And he made the costume and he plays the part in the costume.
Right.
But because of Manos, the search for Valley Lodge, it was Jay Lee, the director of photography. He was a great guy. A lot of us remained friends,
Right.
We felt like we were kind of trapped in a war zone together. So, we were bonded by
trauma.
Yeah.
Trauma bonding.
So Jay Lee, he's actually very good. And he was the director of photography for Primal Rage. And so he contacted me since he'd been up here and asked if we wanted to be part of it. So they brought their whole cast and crew. I got to set up a couple locations here in my little town. And,
cool.
And I had this beautiful hand-painted 16-foot teepee that a dear friend of mine gave me years ago. So we did a peyote ceremony scene in my backyard, and my ex-husband played the medicine man because he's Native, and my kids were in it. My son was one of the drummers, and my grandkids. It was like really cool to be part of this, and I actually watched it a couple weeks ago again. I'm like, wow, I mean, we were in more of it than I thought, those scenes. I'm very proud of that.
That's really cool. Again, like that, you get to like share those experiences with your family and have it like documented for, like I said, forever.
Yeah. It's like, I see my grandkids in there and a couple of my neighbors, that we drew in as extras.
Hey, that's us. I know those guys.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything coming up that we should know about that we can plug for you, or?
Well, yeah, the Manos Chronicles is a new series that we're working on with Willow Polson and her husband Craig. She's written and directed it, and Robert Lippert, who is actually the grandson of the original producer of Manos, is one of our producers. We really like to keep Manos a family affair as much as possible.
Right.
And but it's really good. You can see the trailer on YouTube. It's the Manos Chronicles. And so I call all of this the Manos verse because there's all these different universes. So
right.
In Manos Returns, the story is if Debbie was kept by the Valley Lodge and raised in that environment, what kind of human would she become? And in that case, I get to be the master. I become the master, and I'm not a very pleasant person. It was really fun because, it was fun to be the bad guy.
Yeah.
Well, and we appreciated the more cat fights. So.
Oh gosh.
And then, sorry. And in the Manos Chronicles, it's a whole different universe where Debbie escapes the Valley Lodge as a child, and she's been in hiding her whole life. And so now she is out to fight evil, and, she's looking to help people find redemption in the world.
David Pratt says he's on his way to ordering one of your autographed books.
Oh, awesome. Awesome.
He says he wants one with a red handprint in it.
Well, yeah, I'll give you a thumbprint. But they're personalized too. So, yeah. In there, I'd be happy to.
I always tell people I'm waiting for a rainy day. I had a finger amputated, so one day I'm going to go around my neighbor's windows on a rainy day and make some like weird alien footprints. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if I ever
a tattoo like that, though, somebody once they had a finger and they had a finger looked like it was bent tattooed on.
That's awesome.
Well, Jackey, we definitely appreciate you coming on and talking your family history with us. It was honestly a pleasure, and we appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy
it. Thank you so much for coming. That was a really good program tonight. It was super interesting.
And we'll make sure that we'll link all the. By the way, Manos Returns is currently available on Tubi.
Yes.
So you can go there and watch it. I watched Manos on YouTube
Right.
I think it was uploaded there, so that's where I watched that. I don't know if there's
I
anywhere
watched
else
it on
people can watch it.
Hulu, I think.
On Hulu.
I
Okay.
think it was Hulu.
So yeah,
Hulu or
there's
Tubi.
so if you
But I
haven't
didn't have
seen
time to
those,
watch the second one, so.
yeah, if you
And
haven't
then
seen them,
the
they're
Manos
available.
Chronicles, we're just, you know, I'm not on the production or the business side of it, but
Right.
they're real close to finishing the special effects. And Willow is, she's a good businesswoman. She's talking to some distributors. And so we're just looking for the right distributors so that we can get funding to do more episodes.
Right
I
on.
would love to. And we were filming in Yosemite. It was so beautiful.
Oh, I
We'll have
bet.
to stay in touch with you. So when that comes out, we'll have you back on and we can talk about that.
That'd be great.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jackie.
Thank you.
Good night.
All righty.
That was a good show tonight. That was
It
pretty
was a good
awesome.
show. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
really cool. And
She's fun. I like her.
definitely.
Yeah.
It got me to watch a movie that I probably wouldn't have picked out for myself.
Right.
But I'm really excited that I did watch it because
I
like I
need
said,
one of those robes. I remember that's the only thing I was thinking when I was watching this yesterday. I was like, oh my God, I need that robe. I need that robe. And now I know where to get one.
yeah. I will also be getting one. Let me actually put
You
those
should
up
just
again
buy
really
us both
quick.
ones. She'll give you a twofer.
Well, you need to be the bride. Remember, one of the brides.
It's boring.
All right, you get to wear a mustache, I guess.
I mean, I just let mine grow.
Well, that's what we got for you this week. Next week, we're not doing a show because I, Vlad the Rad, will be in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, visiting family. But we will be back the week after that. What do you want to do? You want to just
we'll figure it out, and then we'll tell people about it once we figure it out. So stay tuned.
Make some
Information
posts.
will be.
We'll do something fun.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for tuning in. I am your host, Vlad the Rad, with my always amazing, so totally tubular sister from another, Mr. Michelle of the Dead. Bye.
Bye.
Welcome to the Zompire Horde podcast. Join us every Monday, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, as your hosts, Vlad the Rad and Michelle of the Dead, discuss horror, true crime, and the macabre. Episodes available on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Join us, won't you?